In this demo, I'll be covering indexes. It's a question that I received from someone who said, I'm seeing this index recommendation and it's using this storing keyword to store these seemingly arbitrary columns. Why is that? Let's create a table. I'll create some indexes, I'll insert some data, and I'll show you why. First, I'll create a table. As is tradition with all my videos, super contrived. There's an ID, a value, a timestamp, so the timestamp that the measurement was taken, and a date column, which is the truncated date part of that timestamp column, and it's a computed column. I'll insert some data. This inserts 100,000 random values. Next, I'll run a query that will select the total amount of value by hour from the measurement table where the date is today. I'll run that and I'll get the date part and the sum from that date part. The query takes 86 milliseconds. If I run an explain on that, we'll see that there is, shock horror, a full table scan happening, and that's not surprising because I'm doing a filter against a column that's not indexed. CockroachDB is recommending this to me, which is the reason for the question in the first place. It's recommending that we create an index on measurement of date. But this part is perhaps less obvious. In the next couple of steps, I'm going to show you why this is important. CockroachDB is recommending that we create a covering index. This is an index on the date column. We're filtering on the date column, but we're returning the value and the timestamp. If we were to create an index against the date column as is with no covering index, CockroachDB would have to do a join back to the primary index in order to fetch the data out of the table. And I'll demonstrate that now by simply creating an index on the measurement table like that. Before I realized what covering indexes were, I would have just created an index like this and hoped for the best. Let's do another select again, identical select this time. We're still in the 80 millisecond ballpark. Why is that? Let's do an explain again. And we're still doing a full scan. CockroachDB realizes there's still no covering index and it's still recommending that we create one. Let's create one, stop those warnings, and see how that's affected our performance. I'll run the same select again, but this time 37 milliseconds. We've dropped right down from the 80 millisecond ballpark. Let's have a look at the explain again. So our full table scan is gone, and now we're able to not only use the date index to filter the data, but we're also using the covering index to serve up the data that's being requested from that filter. To summarize, if you see an index recommendation that is a storing type, a covering index, take heed of the warning because CockroachDB knows what you're trying to do. It knows that you're trying to filter on a particular column or columns, and you're potentially returning different columns, which would benefit from being stored within that same index.